Okay, well, bit of a rough start on recording this time. Fraps is giving me some trouble. I think it's routinely crashing. It shows that it's still running, but F12 doesn't function, screenshot doesn't function, and yet it still monitors the frame rate. It still shows frame rate. Interesting things. Anyway, so welcome to this video. I'm going to introduce while I refill my life as fast as possible. So I'm just going to run around, kill some monsters, and show what I got going on. This is development video number 3. Put my fire right here. I've got mechanic in place now where if you're close to a fire, this fire is close enough to me, I'm in range of it, it will give me this buff right here. It's called Hearth. I'll have a hover text on that eventually. So if I wander outside of that radius, I lose the buff. When you have it, it refills your hit points. The number right here, which is occasionally covered up by a pair of boots when I'm moving, is just a little pool, an HP pool that fills up periodically as I... that's the way I do HP Reagan. So one of the mechanics I wanted to do in this game was a fireplace, a campfire. You maintain a campfire, and the reason you maintain a campfire, first of all, is to supply HP regeneration, MP regeneration, and AP regeneration. I'm not 100% positive AP will be in the game, but okay. Now that I'm full, I'm going to go fight while I talk. I wanted a mechanic that fits in with nature. I like nature. And a mechanic that fits in with camping. First off, jettison all the horror stories you may have about camping in games such as perhaps EverQuest or something like that, where you never end up getting the item you want or whatever else. It's not like that. Camping in this sense merely means finding an excellent place, a place you want to be, and settling down there, making a small base of operations and operating out of that. So I'm going to attack these guys, kill some enemies. Unfortunately, there is no experience or anything like that yet. When they die, you will see that they make a corpse. That was a big advance, big system I added. They actually spawn a corpse when they despawn. What I was unable to do is fix the drag corpse button in time for the video. It was disabled due to some work on the, I don't know, one of the systems. And on the effect system, that's right, on the effect. Okay, I killed him. A little too fast, to be honest with you. So normally I would be able to drag that corpse, and my idea was that I would drag that corpse back to the fireplace. Why would I go back to my campfire? Because look at my hit points. I'm down to 11. That enemy kicked my ass. So I need to go back to this campfire and utilize the mostly free, but really just cheap, HP regeneration. Now you can regenerate your HP in other ways. Later in the game when you're extremely rich in terms of resources, you will have tons of, for example, bandages, as I'm about to click. Right there. In the game, I intend for bandages to be physical items that are picked up from monsters and have a cost, and you won't necessarily have an infinite stack of them. They provide HP regeneration. Regenerate, the spell Regenerate, also provides HP regeneration. However, that's 5 mana, and during the duration of the spell, you really don't get all that much HP per point of mana. So I'm going to skip that until I have full mana, until I need to do a burn, do an HP fill burn. So I wanted to maintain a base of operations, run back to base, recharge your hit points. I guess I'm just going to use infinite bandages here. I do intend for there to be different tiers of bandages. Oh, I've left my auto attack on. So, alright. As I fight and kill monsters, let's move on to the topic. Topic number 1, spawning campfires. Good. I've already halfway covered this topic. In addition to providing a base of operations, I wanted a campfire to provide a thing you must maintain. So ideally at this point the range of a campfire might be a little bit beyond what it is actually. Maybe it'll be like this or something, maybe, I don't know. But I would be maybe wandering over to these trees, obviously not just walking over the terrain, but wandering over these trees and clicking the harvest firewood button and then going back and opening the pack, we'll see that later, of my fire and depositing the firewood inside. And of course you'll have skills for scrounging firewood. If you try to play a ranger character, you will have a much better time getting higher quality firewood or being able to find one in adverse climates, such as for example when it's raining. Another really cool thing I wanted to do was this is just a bit of a sort of flavor text, a flavor feature, but it could also be a very core feature as well. The firewood you find will be of different types. I intend to incorporate ash, elm, spruce, oak, willow, all right, pine, various types of trees. And of course they'll burn differently. I would like to incorporate some variety of long burning, short burning, hot burning, etc. So in other words, a fire is going to have hit points, and the firewood you give to it will recharge it. But what if you took that firewood that you just harvested, and then you come over to this blue plant right here, and perhaps you harvest the blue plant? Well, what do you harvest from the blue plant? You harvest the petals. When you harvest the petals of that blue plant, you then crush them up, and you make them into a powder. You dry them, and then you put that in the inventory, in the pack of the fire. And when the fire searches its inventory for firewood, it will find a blue powder. And that blue powder will change the character of, who knows? First of all, the smoke. It'll change the character of the smoke. So it may be fun, like in other games, like in Minecraft, for example, you've got fireworks, pretty little light shows, right? Great, awesome stuff. Well, you could do that in this. You could have colored smoke. You could have it, certain powders make the smoke come out significantly more thickly. What is it called? Densely? I forget what it's called when smoke is thick. You could have it come out blue. You could have it produce significantly less smoke. You could have it produce smoke that fills your hit points faster, or that fills your mana faster. Oh, look at that. I have a full mana bar. I'm wasting time, wasting resources there. So additives. So this is the, some of the professions in the game could add to the campfire mechanic. Now, I'm not fooling myself into thinking that maintaining firewood in a campfire is any sort of core, awesome gameplay sort of thing. But I'll need that. But it's something to do while you are waiting for example, your hit points to regenerate, or for example, for your mana to regenerate. Excuse me. So, the next topic is, and I intend to make the graphic represent, the health of the fire. Also, it will be going out in the rain. Happens to go out in the rain. Also, it'll take you a little while to light it. You don't just run up and click a button like I did. It's going to take a moment to light it. So, there's going to be a bit of a procedure to setting up camp. Okay. Onward to the next one. Next topic, dragging corpses. As I've said before, it is broken at the moment. However, what I really wanted you to do, I better go kill, was to come up here. Do a killing spree, all right? Kill a bunch of dudes, and then drag their corpses. I don't know yet, 1 by 1 or 2 by 2. I don't really know. I was thinking maybe it would depend on the weight of the dead enemy. The enemy that dies transfers its weight, its mass, to the corpse, and so the corpses are heavy. So depending on your strength, you can drag it faster or slower, or a weighted down corpse you won't be able to drag at all, maybe. You have to loot it where it is, i.e. next to enemies, within range of sneaking around enemies, right? As you can see, I don't have any NPC sorting yet, so it prints one over the other. So I would think you could drag them back to base, back to camp, and that at that point you open up a lot of possibilities, because not only can you harvest the corpse, which is in many games and is great, right? Awesome mechanic. Harvesting corpses is great. But if you have a golem and you pickaxe, you can harvest the golem. Now that's going to take a little while, take a lot longer. So when you drag it back to base, back to safety, you can spend a little bit of extra time extracting a higher degree of resource from it. You can also loot its pockets, etc., instead of just doing a quick loot and leaving. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, all of the different corpse types right now are simply a little goblin head, which I think is totally adorable, but is not representative of the enemy type that was killed. That will be changing. I've only done the goblin. Basically, I have to get in there and do some pixel work, and just basically cut their heads off and make a new entity out of it. So that'll be fun. I do intend for them to disappear eventually. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense for them to just remain forever. Wasting time. And as you can see, they don't collide. I don't collide with them at all. Nothing does. Because I intend for them to stack up. I intend if you are really more interested in the combat arena, and maybe for example you've drank a potion which is very substantially powerful, you don't want to waste even a precious minute of it. So you would kill, drag back to base, kill, drag back to base, or maybe just kill, and then go on a dragging spree once it's run out. In fact, you would use a combat-oriented potion, go on a killing spree, then use a speed-oriented potion to drag them all back to base even faster. That would be optimal. Whatever gameplay. Okay, I definitely have to bandage now. Okay, so that's corpses. It seems like pretty fun gameplay. Yeah, I'm liking that. The next topic is rain. As you can see, it's fully raining right now. I do have the rain slowly ebbing, and whatever the opposite of ebbing is, but it doesn't seem to be changing too much. This is really heavy rain, quite heavy. I got it pretty good, to be honest with you. I think it's great. Not only that, but it's a very low particle hit, a very low performance hit. If you take a look at the upper left-hand corner, you see FPS 45, MOBS, mobs 14, amount of monsters, and PRTS, the amount of particles, fluctuating between 30 and 40, 50, right? Even when I load the screen up with 50 more, 60, 80 more, it's really slow. And so wait a second, if you take a screenshot and actually count the little white dots, you'll notice that there are significantly more than 40 on the screen at any one time. And I did a little trick with that, and basically every raindrop particle is actually linked to 5 other X amount of other raindrop particles, and X, where X depends on the thickness of the rain, the density of rain at the moment. I haven't done any snow yet. But that's going to look really good. I have a lot of good ideas for snow. You make it travel down the screen slowly and wave side to side and float around. And one thing I don't know yet how I'm going to do, and I don't have a lot of good ideas for how to do it, is wind. Wind is real difficult to show unless you're a consummate pixel artist, which is the exact opposite of what I am. So that may be impossible, to be honest with you. But rain and snow is great. Fog, easily doable. Oh, I get to fight my twin. Rain, snow, fog, and various other things. So rain's going well. Hopefully it'll go down to nothing here pretty soon. We'll be able to see nothing. I have it randomly, random. All right, so next topic is HP Reagan. And I've lumped Auto Attack in there. I don't know why I would lump those two together, but HP Regeneration. I like EverQuest. And in EverQuest, HP regeneration was a huge part of it. I like Final Fantasy, and I always regretted that in those games, the Reagan spell was pretty anemic, to be honest with you. It was pretty pathetic. I mean, I never really, min-maxed? No, spreadsheeted, I forget what the term is. I never really went all crazy on figuring out, what the exact optimal whatever is, but it never really seemed like it was worth either the MP per HP gain, and it never really seemed like it was worth the, I'm going to kill 2 enemies here, the turn that it took to cast it. Maybe I'm way off base and just didn't use it properly, but it did not seem like I was getting enough out of it. I wished it was more powerful. Throughout all the games, every Final Fantasy game, I really wished Reagan was a hell of a lot more powerful. In EverQuest, it was a big deal. In this game, I intend for it to be a rather large deal. Not just a big deal, but kind of a core gameplay mechanic. Obviously, I'm talking HP and MP regeneration, as well as AP, although I don't yet know if that's going to be a resource. So in addition to the refilling HP mechanic that a fire does, and that bandages do, and that regenerate does, there will be techniques and methods of refilling MP at a slightly faster rate. For example, in EverQuest, there is a spell called Clarity. Is that what it was? Clarity? Yeah. Clarity. Which is a beautiful thing. It was referred to as crack, and oh my god, it was crack. Now I'm going to go ahead and spend some mana. I really should have been doing that anyway. So, minimizing downtime through the maintenance of optimal HP regeneration and MP regeneration will be a core gameplay mechanic. Now, I'm with you on that. It's hard to make that fun. Again, in EverQuest, I had a couple of moments. I idolized that game, but I had a couple of moments where I was like, okay, let's get something going on here. I need a little bit of a boost to my HP rank. And I remember playing a warrior. I started out with a warrior, and that was pretty brutal. I'm not going to lie, that was brutal. But this is it's going to utilize the same mechanic, but I do hope to avoid brutal situations. So maintaining your fire is one aspect. Utilizing your mana, balancing the degeneration rate, the attrition rates of both and stuff is going to be crucial. Bandages will be crucial. That would provide a tie for the HP mechanic, regeneration mechanic, into the crafting and looting and merchant economy mechanic, right? Another tie-in will be, I'm trying to implement resting. I actually tried to implement that. I failed. I only give myself an hour before bedtime, so I should be able to get that in. But the rest mechanic, essentially, I don't know if I'm going to have you toggle a button or if I'm just going to stick to anytime you stop. That was the reason I implemented these little boots here that show up every time I start to move, so that I could know when the character is moving and when it isn't. So when you're not moving for 3 seconds or something, your regeneration turns up. I plan to have a pretty little bar here, a box here, which is going to have green arrows. You see the green arrow that my cursor is? I really like that color and that, everything about it. It's very pretty, very good pixel art. And so I intend to use something like that. So right now I have 0 HP regeneration. Tier 0. Nothing is happening. Right now I click bandage. I've got 1 tier. Now I'm going to click regenerate. I've got 2 tiers. Okay. So the little box over here will be filled with 2 green up arrows. Okay. So ideally you would get to what? Fire, bandage, regenerate, and rest. That's 4. Jeez. That's 4 there. So you would have 4 green arrows pointed up. I put it at 5, the maximum. And you would have the similar indicators for mana and AP. Now, the thing about that is, so you've got 5 steps there, 5 tiers there. You've got a tier 0 for nothing. It's not moving at all. And then I intended for you to have 5 negative tiers. This would be poison, decay, Don't really know what else. But yeah, poison and decay would be crucial aspects of this as well. So, and you're right off the bat. Okay, now wait, what happens if you have a poison and you're sitting by a fire? They cancel out. I didn't want them to be additive. I wanted them to be exclusionary, whatever. I wanted them to cancel each other out. So, so if you're sitting next to a fire, if you get poisoned, you run back to your fire, sit next to your fire. So you've got hearth buff and sit buff. So you are gaining hit points at a rate of 1 because the tear takes away one of those benefits. The poison takes away one of those benefits. So that's the way I had planned to do that. As you can see, I think a lot about that, and I talk a lot about that. Dang it, I spoiled it. Don't look at that. Pretend that didn't happen. Okay, I'm not going to use my mana this time. I'm going to sit and wait it out. Bam, waiting it out. Right now, this, excellent. MP attrition, MP benefit over time decrease. So 2 out of 3 trips away from your camp will be beneficial to expend mana. But on the 3rd trip, you come back and it is beneficial to hunker down, protect yourself, not expend mana. Just wait it out. Wait it out. Maybe spend that period spent at the campfire refilling your campfire. Perhaps crafting some of the harvested blue powder that helps your mana fill up a little bit faster, right? So, yeah, good stuff. Okay, moving on. Bandages. Really liked bandages in EQ. It was a real subtle touch where they said you can't bandage above 50%. First thing you think is like, oh my god, 50? You kidding me? 50%. I barely get down to 50%. If you play World of Warcraft and you get below 50% hit points, you're doing something wrong. I'm talking about questing and anything like that. You know, dungeon runs for the most part. You're just not supposed to do. That's not supposed to happen, unless you're of the party that says if you're not dying, you're not trying. Which I am, but apparently most people are not. Which is a topic for another day. So bandages. I intend for them to drop from mobs, but not often. I intend for them to be fairly expensive. When you use a bandage, it is going to refill your hit points to a degree that will be very profitable to you. Therefore, if they're abundant, then I've just obviated a game mechanic, and that's a failure, as far as I'm concerned. Bandages, yes. So this is how to roll it into the economy. Going to be expensive. You're going to need to make money, farm money to make them, or you can perhaps be a tailor and make them yourself. So you fight humanoids. You note that they have clothes. You spend a little extra time at the campfire harvesting their corpse in order to make bandages. You then sit down and you rip them up, bandage them. Maybe you carry a little flask of embalming fluid, whatever the hell, vinegar, who knows. Medicinal aloe, or who knows, right? And so you're able to soak the cloth that you get from humanoids in that, and after a certain period of time, it becomes a bandage, a tier 1 bandage. A little bit later in the game, when you get serious about magic, you learn a spell called, I don't know, fairy dust. So you soak these linens in fairy dust and whatever the hell else I just said, aloe, oil, whatever, and you've got a tier 2 bandage. Perhaps tier 2 bandages can be used at 60% or 75%. I would think I'm not 100% positive that I'm gonna use the same mechanic that EQ did with you can't bandage below X%. I think I may want to go with something a little bit different, like for example, it. Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. Well, for example, in this one, it doesn't in EQ it restores HP. Oh God, I'm not gonna die, am I? I'm totally gonna die. Run, 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 run. Okay, I'm trying not to die. I'm not actually gonna die, but because it cheats and refills my life. But oh, here you go. This right now I'm kiting. Huh? Didn't even think about that. Okay, I'm gonna have to burn some mana, even though I'm already low. I'm kiting right now. Now, is his hit points regenerating? It's really not. He does not have the bandage skill. Or the regenerate spell. I'm only up to 8. Jesus. Oh, get away, get away, get away. Don't. Okay, bandage again. I would not realistically be using bandage this many times. Okay, attack him. Just take him down. 5. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah. Note he's fleeing. Okay, so bandages are in everything. Look at the damage numbers. I've got damage numbers right now, both being printed to the chat box and being expelled from the heads of the characters as I attack. I'm not 100% positive what I'm going to do. I do love how EQ did it, where they did it in the chat box and you kind of had to watch. But to be fair, it did completely break down at the raid level. Even at the group level, really. You simply, I mean, you could only get a sense of the damage that was being done. Totally fine, if it's not a big deal, but I'm not really sure. They look, I don't really like the way they look there. I could do a little more artsy work with the font and things like that, but who knows. Oh, and I also haven't incorporated, as you'll notice, any sort of attack animations. So, for example, maybe if the attack animation lends itself to, flinging a number off of their head as I hit, perhaps that will be what I do. But either way, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing on those. Hearth buff, I've already talked about those. I kind of want to display the Hearth buff in some way. Now, in a lot of the games, say Final Fantasy Tactics? No. Gosh, I don't know what game I'm talking about. One of the games, you see like a red circle around here with the pretty graphics, pretty pixel art, right? I could do that, or I could go hardcore and do light. Light in pixel games, 2D pixel games, is very doable. Extremely doable. Lends itself very well to mechanics of various types. I don't like stealth. Not a fan of stealth. Never play stealth characters. Never bother with stealth mechanics. I prefer to pretend it's not even there, to be honest with you. But maybe I'll like it when I'm developing it. I don't know. But yeah, so that would be a good way to show the range. As you feed it bigger and better wood, you'll say, oh, this wood tends to increase the range, but the buff I get isn't as potent. So that would be a very doable thing. Or you could I could just hover over it, and as you hover over it, it shows the distance at which you'll get the buff. I don't know. Smoke. Looking at the fire, you see the smoke. These are particles. These are counted in this particle count up here. Right now, I literally have just one graphic for the particle, smoke particle. Obviously, that'll be easily remedied with many other things. So, for example, when the fire gets very low and is about to go out, and for example, is getting rained on, for example, the smoke might go up. Right? You're getting a lot more smoke. Why? Because the rain is putting out the fire. Okay. When you got a good blaze going, it's not producing as much smoke because it's consuming all of the carbon or whatever the hell, right? Something like that. I've got a lot of good ways to generate smoke. I could even maybe go hardcore on it and do procedural textures, which I don't know how to do yet, which would be fun. And, generate a brand new smoke cloud for every particle that's created. Who knows? The other way, the most likely way, to be honest with you, is just to create, 100 different smoke particles and randomize them and be done with it. That would be another thing that would interact with the wind. which would be great, but again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do wind. Button cooldowns. Take a look at attack. All right, my attack is on. My attack is off. I've bandaged myself. Now watch. If you look down here, I still have the bandage buff. I'm going to wait until that rolls off. It's quite a long buff. When I ignore the bandage buff, this is the buff that is applied. This is increasing my HP regeneration. But pay attention instead to this. Notice when I hover over this button, it does not do anything, doesn't change. When I hover over this button, it does. Okay? Because these buttons right here are actions that are performed by the game. These buttons right here are moves that my character can perform. So these buttons indicate, cooldown. So if these buttons are blacked out like these, it indicates that the cooldown is unavailable. Right, what we have here is cooldowns. So watch how long. Can't push anything. You're already bandaged. You're already bandaged. Now it's ready. I can bandage myself as many times as I want, but it would be stupid to click this again because I would then reapply my bandage. I do currently have it. I mean, I guess if you're super rich on bandages, you could just buff. But I do currently have it increasing the duration of the bonus increasing the duration of the effect on my character. But that may not necessarily be the case. Anyway, so those are button cooldown. I've got them linked to, whether something is open or not. Open, not open. Whether something is on or not open. Whether something is on cooldown and off cooldown, etc. So those are good. And I've got it linked to hover, whether the mouse is hovering over it or not. Debug info. This is a fun one. Watch this. But don't accidentally quit. So here's, this is the very first attempt at anything involving any kind of debug monitoring. Let's take a look. These are all the subroutines. On the left here you have the list. You have the names of the subroutine. Right here you have the time spent in the subroutine since the beginning of the game. And right here you have the amount of times it has been called. That's troublesome. I'm gonna hit the integer cap here pretty dang soon. Maybe. I don't know. What does the integer go up to? 67? I don't know. So fun stuff. Now it's a little tricky because, for example, right, drawbox. Well, anyway, the subroutine named drawbox right here. 172 seconds in it. Count many, right? Not as many as mouse and key check because that's what it does when it's not doing anything else. But drawbox is huge. Well, the problem is drawbox is called like 8 times every time I call draw game screen. It's been 11 seconds. It's called 90,000 times. That's 90,000 frames. So it's not 100% accurate as to exactly how many times it's been called. Exactly how much time has been spent in it. Nope, it's accurate to both of those, but it's a little more complicated than it looks because you can't really just count things. I've only updated the minimap once. Look at that. I've updated buttons 75 times. Every time I push a menu, it updates buttons. Every time I click a button, it updates buttons, etc. Only loaded the map once. This is event activation is gone. Actions, every time I push a button, 72 times, etc. Fun stuff. Move. This is all the math for moving anything by pixel is done in there, and it's only been counted 97,000 times, 0.2 seconds and spent inside of it. Not bad at all. Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done looking at that data, teasing out problems, logical inconsistencies and errors and problems that can be solved by that. So, but that's fun stuff, and there's obviously more to do there. Crafting. As I was saying before, I was harvesting this blue flower, and I was harvesting this elm, and I was harvesting this pine, and I was harvesting this birch. Birchwood, right? All the monsters have spawned away from me. Dormant, oh dear. They're all dormant. That's not good. I wonder if they're all on this side. So, if you take elm, birch, pine, and like 3 other types of wood, you've got like 6 or 7 or 8 types of wood, right? Well, okay. You've got 8 ingredients. Now, how many different actions can you do with those? Chop, chip, shred, and burn? It was in my notebook somewhere. I can check this out. But so right off the bat, if you have 8, okay, here we go. To mill it, you create dust. To use a knife on it, you create chips. To use a press on it, you create sap. You get the sap out of it. To use fire on it, you get ash. So right off the bat, I've got 4 different ingredients. I'm sorry, 4 different products created by out of 8 different primary products. Now, if you know anything about math, that's a hell of a lot of combinations. And that's just for wood. What if I introduce plants? Another 8, 10 different, 12 different types of plants with 3 or 4 different types of things you can do on those too. Okay, as you can see, there are many, many different possible combinations of what can be done. And one of the ways I wanted to do this was, you know how in Oblivion, Morrowind, Skyrim, you have alchemy. You collect many, many different, they have like 30 different types of plants, right? Quite a few. Quite a few different types of plants. You can do a lot of different actions to each one of those plants. And then, so you have a large foundation of many, many different ingredients. Well then, what you can do to all those different ingredients is a bunch of different functions. You can do many different things to them. You can make them dust. You can expel the sap from them. You can make them ash. You can mix them in various quantities. So what you have is a large table of interactions. And then you can randomly select recipes. So one recipe would be to take the pollen of a daffodil, the sap expelled from the stem of a rose, the ash from pine, and mix them all in with chipped birch. Burn that in your fire, you've got HP regeneration. It doesn't work if the sap was not expelled from the stems and you just put the stems in there. It doesn't work. So what you've got is a large amount of possible, I forget what the word here is, exponential, logarithmic, I don't know, possible ingredients. And I thought if I started out the game and randomized them, randomly selected, 50 different recipes from those different combinations. Okay, I know they're not below that. And then wrote them down in the game on a piece of paper as loot. So you kill a goblin, you get a recipe. You would have had to try 40,000 different combinations to get that. Totally unrealistic. Possible, but totally unrealistic. And I was thinking, you could have some low-hanging fruit. Oh, you get pine. Oh, you get pine dust. Oh, look at this. This alchemist here stores pine dust and rose petals. I wonder what those could have. You do something with it, and it provides you a little benefit. Great. But then you get something that's serious, and it provides a real effect. And so you would literally have to actually discover out in the world true recipes. This is the ingredient that's missing from many crafting systems because it's just too easy. Skyrim did this. It did it pretty well. I liked it. You can sit there and fiddle all day, and you only come up. I mean, it's going to take you a couple of hours to get anything decent, probably. If you're just fiddling in Skyrim. Anyway, so there's procedural crafting combos. Seed the recipes out throughout the world in various dungeons. You go down to the dungeon, you get the right combo, there you go. Maybe 1 or 2 of the dungeons, you already found that combo on your own just by experimenting. That'd be great. It'd be awesome. All of these monsters are dormant. I've got a big problem here. May have to stop the video. Let's do it. Okay, welcome back. I did reset that. Can't remember what happened. Who knows? It's probably just best to reset it. I don't want to exceed the integer limits because it's probably going to crash something. Okay. Procedural recipes with many, many foundational ingredients. The next topic. Oh, as to how in-depth I intend to get with crafting, pretty in-depth, but there's a couple of games out there that I would not be able to emulate. I simply don't have the... I've not even thought about whether I could do it or not. Xion, X-Y-S-O-N, X-S-Y-O-N. To me, that is the epitome of crafting, whether it was executed well or not. The attempt there was the epitome of crafting, and I really liked it, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to maintain that level of competent professionalism in developing a system like that. But certainly for things like little low-level RPG combat. So, here we go. Next topic. Magic. Whew, this is going to be a rough battle. Magic. So let's move somewhere. Don't hit me. Magic. Anybody ever played the game Magicka? I have. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The game I could do without. I'm not a huge fan of parodies of... Let me rephrase that. I am a huge fan of parodies of fantasy, and let me just say I've seen better. I'm not going to say it's not funny. It's got some great funny parts, but I've seen good parody, good fantasy parody, and that's a cheap knockoff. Not to rip the game. It's the best fantasy parody I've seen. Good God, let's talk about the magic. So in Magicka, you set your, instead of putting your fingers on W, A, S, and D, you place your fingers on A, S, D, and F, the home row for the left hand. And the reason you could do that is to jump up to, you've got 4 buttons, and you jump up to Q, W, E, and R for 8 total buttons, total of 8 buttons. And each one of those 8 buttons is a different school of magic. And when you combine them, you get, you combine fire and ice, you get water. Combine air and fire, you get fire. I don't know, right? Whatever. I was going to do a bit like that, and it's not, obviously it's not going to be the same level of action required. This is not an action game. This is an RPG. I differentiate those very much, very stridently. So instead, it's going to be, you are going to be forming combinations. Now I have a little table of magic that I've made. Forget exactly what all the categories are, but it's all written down, it's all planned out, and the important point is that it's all coherent. It is internally consistent. Rather well executed, if I may say so myself. Moment of brilliance. Everything works out well. It should be able to fit in pretty well with the game. I've looked at all the combinations, and none of them point inherently, intuitively, to something that would be difficult to implement. So, for example, in my game, something that would be difficult to implement would be very large-scale pathfinding, very competent professional pathfinding. I'm not a perfect programmer, and that's going to be something that's a little rough for me to implement. And so this the magic system I have does not really lend itself completely to that. I can't find it in my notebook, but it's somewhere. That said, I will have the player combining different magic types. I still do want you to have a cast bar that requires you to be immobile while casting, possibly even vulnerable in some way while casting. But that didn't really have anything to do with it. Yeah, so you'll be casting two different things. It's going to be a tree, it's going to be a thingy, you're going to be able to learn one school, and then later in the game you'll learn another school, and if your intelligence is really high, maybe you'll learn a third school, right? You can't have it all at once, blah, blah, blah. So if you combine life with fire, you create fire that not only burns, but is alive, seeks to continue itself. It is a living fire. Book I read, fantasy book, Sword of Truth. Say what you want about the series. I liked it. I enjoyed most of it. The magic in there, a pretty cool spell called Wizard's Fire. And the wizard who produced that fire had to be in mortal danger, fearing for their life. And if they were, and if they were able to cast that spell, not many people could cast it, the fire that they produced was beyond terrifying. Think napalm, where it sticks to you and burns and sears and just kills. It's just a weapon of mass destruction, right? So there you go. So there's one little example of the way that magic system is going to work. Okay, watch this enemy carefully. You can see him over here on the right-hand side. His HP is down to 6. Watch when it gets down lower than 6. Let's see. He's attacking. He's attacking. Down on 3. Shoot. Oh, I hit him for 2. Yes, yes, yes. Now look at his whatever. He is fleeing. Okay, so I've programmed in certain monsters will be fleeing. Look at his behavior. Look at him run around. See that? He's fleeing. Certain monsters will flee. I like in games where skeletons don't flee. It doesn't make sense. They're undead. They just go at you mindlessly. But humanoids, monsters, animals will flee. I haven't implemented this yet. I wasn't able to get it in time for the demo. But the flee command, the flee behavior takes into account nearby dangers and runs in a direction away from them. Pretty much mindlessly, because you're panicking. Now this immediately leads to traps. So if I was over here and I'm attacking this dude and he starts to flee, he's going to move this way. He's going to run over here. Well, it just so happens that I was over here a moment ago and I placed a little trap right over there. And so I'm going to, as he moves and tries to go down this way, I'm going to move down this way and force him back up that way. He's going to flee in the opposite angle from me. And I embarrassingly took way too long to figure out how to get that math correct. It literally, if you know math, it literally required adding the radius, adding half pi and then correcting for above and below 0 and pi. It was literally that simple. I wanted to hit myself. Pretty pathetic, but I've got it in place now. I've got it in place now. The only thing it relies on that isn't in place is the faction system, which is a beast. So flee control. When you control the motion of a monster fleeing, you can, first of all, keep them away from guards who will kill them and steal your kills, like in EverQuest. Right? You can also guide them to the traps that you have set. Finish them off while you handily rest, bandage, regenerate. Head back to base. That's a bit of root rot. In other words, when you immobilize a monster and then poison it, and then back off and just sit your ass down and watch it die. Right? Pretty boring gameplay. I enjoy it, but not everybody enjoys it, and that's perfectly legitimate to not enjoy that. But this is a little bit more exciting version of that, essentially. In some way. I'm not quite sure how that is the same, but, you know, I better use my mana. Didn't even see that. Okay, that's fleeing control. Guards. I intended, in this town, to have guards. Oh dear. on the outskirts of town. Not down near the dock, near the teleporter at the bottom, where my campfire is, but on the upper left-hand corner, as you're heading into the wilderness. I intended for the guard to be sitting in a little guard shack, maintaining his own campfire, incidentally, in a rather nice little, well-appointed Tuscan villa. Just kidding. That was a Dilbert joke? No, it was one of them jokes. When your mother sits around the lavishly appointed Tuscan villa, she really sits around the lavishly appointed Tuscan villa. It was a joke about Kramer? Framer, something like that. So guards in EQ were awesome. I think it was a great mechanic. First of all, there's a very harsh penalty in that game. Well, the guards alleviate that harsh penalty by giving you a safe haven to which to run during experimentation. So when you max out and all the enemies you're attacking are minimally beneficial in terms of XP gain, money gain, fun, etc., you need to go into other areas. Well, other areas are fucking dangerous. The guards give you a little leeway there, a little room to breathe and to experiment. Okay, how's this guy? Oh my god, he's kicking my ass. Back to the guard. Thank you, guard. Let me sit down and recover. Okay, so I did intend to implement that. These also rely on factions, which is going to take a minute to implement. Next topic, I'm going to skip death penalty. I don't even know how I'm going to handle death in this game. I don't know if I want it to be one of those load your save. I don't really like those. Maybe you would just lose some experience. Maybe you would lose equipment. Maybe you would lose all the equipment on you. I don't know. Anyway, again, it's totally open type of game. Equipment attrition. I'm active on many forums. I like talking about games. I like talking about RPGs. One of the things I really want to do and I want to see in a game is full equipment attrition. You get a sword. It has a durability. You can repair it all you want. It will not last forever. That's ridiculous. I mean, unless you want to go where the repair costs are greater than the costs of simply building a new sword, in which case, sure, keep your nostalgia for that sword, but it's a different sword once you've repaired it 10 times, right? But equipment attrition is a big deal. It removes things from the economy. It slows down your growth. And I like to pay attention to durability. It also introduces a very easy way to incorporate another crafting mechanic. Blacksmithing, item repair, leatherworking, woodworking, you know, magic imbuing, right? All kinds of things. Lots of possibilities, fun stuff. Lots of gameplay opportunities there. I do really want to get item attrition. One thing I don't like about item attrition is in D&D, I think they did this, in tabletop D&D, not tabletop, but, you know, tabletop D&D, pen and paper D&D, there we go. An enemy would hit you with a, oh, there you go, a game, Azure Dreams, PlayStation game. God, what a brilliant game, mechanics-wise. Really creepy in other aspects, but you would step on a rust trap. Ooh. Took the strength of your equipment down by 1. Permanently. Period. No way to resist it. You will get hit by rust traps. It will happen. Your shit will go down. Oh, it pissed me off. The very first thing I did in that game was make myself immune from that. There's a certain sword you can acquire that is immune to rust. It has some other negatives. I happily accepted them because I hated the permanent decrease. But the reason I hated the permanent decrease was because the items in that game were permanent. You never lost your sword. Oh, I never did. I didn't play it in the way that you could actually die and respawn from 0. I said, screw that. I'm going to abuse memory cards. Good to know that the enemies are up here. So, equipment attrition in that one was in the form of rust, and I immediately try to counteract it. So, I definitely want to get equipment attrition in the game in some fashion, in some manner. One other thing it really does nicely with is, I'm going to light another fire up here, is when you build your entire set of armor, beautiful banded chainmail armor, gorgeous. You know it's not going to last for a long time. You're going to have to keep doing that, keep maintaining it. Okay, I totally went off point. What I meant to bring to the discussion lecture was Rust mechanics, and the other one, Weapon Break, Final Fantasy Tactics. There we go. That's the game. I hated that. I refused to participate. If it ever happened to me, I reset my game and I started over. Did not like that at all. Weapon Break. Knights get the skill. You can literally have a chance, real low chance apparently, to just break their weapon and they're without a weapon. Does not work if you have permanent weapons. Great if you have weapon attrition, because chances are if you have weapon attrition, you're going to have a backup weapon in your bag. Chances are thinking about that backup weapon is going to be entertaining because you know that the liches you're going down into the pit to fight, the dungeon to fight, have a rust spell that disintegrates your armor. And you are going to account for that. In that case, those spells become tolerable, in my opinion. I never did like them. Whoa, look at my attack range. You kidding me? Oh, whatever. Sure, I'll take that kill. So equipment attrition, it opens up a lot of things that I like. And without it, there's a couple of problems which I really don't like. So chances are, I think I'm going to go with some variety of equipment attrition on this one. Next topic is weight and movement speed variance. A variance in your movement speed related to your weight. Related to the weight you're carrying. I very much do intend to incorporate a stat system, incorporating strength and constitution, etc. And that really just speaks. Player cheats? Oh dear, I am messing up here. What is going on? That guy is me. And that guy is that guy. Weird. I'm going to get in range and kill him, whatever. We're going to hope it... Oh, he was doing to me... What? Wait a second. He's doing damage to me, and the damage numbers are popping up on the other dude. I'm glad I'm recording this. I've got to debug what the hell's going on here. This is ridiculous. Anyway, so there's a couple of different ways to vary your movement. First of all, if you're low on hit points, say you hit 50% hit points, I do intend to incorporate a little bit of a movement penalty. Not a heavy one. You know, obviously no one likes being slowed to a crawl. Not only that, but you hate it so much that you avoid it every time. And if you avoid it every time, there's no choice anymore. There's no choice of whether to accept it or not. You've already determined to not accept it, which is not a good thing. Not good. I've obviated some gameplay, right? So, the other way, I don't know if I covered that, but the other way to do it is roads. When you're on a road, when you're on a stone road, there should be some variety of speed benefit. I like speed benefits like that. Should be going a little bit faster. So, townspeople, when they are meandering from place to place, town to town, they will prefer the road because it increases their speed. So too with you. So carrying things, I'm going to be getting that into the game fairly soon, I think, because I think the movement speeds are pretty close to set. They're pretty good. I'm doing 0.4 pixels per second. Actually, that's inaccurate, but anyway. Alright, let's get another one. Particles. So I've used particles for rain, smoke, fireballs. Oddly enough, the damage numbers that appear above the heads of the characters are, in fact, particles. There's a couple of different uses. Sparkles, obviously. Sparkles are awesome. You could use it for fog. Now, right now, the fog I have is this. Okay. Ooh, I'm going to play with that on for a little while. I say that every time. But I don't know if you can tell, but this is simply one big square rectangular graphic of a cloud being printed on the screen. It's not independent. There are no independent little sections of cloud. Now, I'm not good enough to do the procedural clouds that you see games today. Look, there you go. There's the line. It's messing up. Right. Thank you for that. As you can see, it's just this is the edge of one of the graphics of the cloud. I'm not good enough to do the procedural clouds where it's literally building. God, it's so amazing. Just Cause 2. Altera. Anti-World. Oh my God, the clouds are amazing. Any new game that comes out these days, they've got it. Even in the Unity engine, they've got this. I'm not going to be able to do that, but there is nothing wrong with having 500 particles on the screen. I've tested it. You can go up to 2,000 something particles, and that's unoptimized. I don't even. There's no assembly being in use there. I haven't even had a competent professional programmer go through and look and make sure I'm not totally being stupid about something. So, and I've thousands of particles. So it's entirely doable to have fog done as a particle. Or, what about this? Fog of war. Fog of view, field of view, whatever. You know, I can see up to here. I can't see this corner because it's just a lot of fog in there. As I move, the fog goes away. Totally doable. Fog is good. Snow, that won't be used. Rain won't be used. Poison clouds. What if I go into a zone and it's a swamp and noxious green gas, that's messing up real bad, is being spewed from every, what are they called? Little holes in the ground? Right? Easy to do. Easy to do. Poison spells, obviously. Weird walls, teleporters. Anyway, so those are the uses for particles that can work. Points of interest, I believe I covered those in another topic. What else? Okay, one major thing that I did want to cover is if anyone plays the X games, or I believe it was Freelancer? I think it's the X games. Some of the earlier X games, not Rebirth, but some of the earlier ones. One of the main points of the game was filling a bar that an NPC possesses, usually a space station. And the bar indicates that station's supply of, for example, energy, electricity, or food, or water, or parts. And out of those parts, they create more parts. You buy those parts, deplete that bar, sell it to someone else who uses the parts they made to make other parts. In other words, in addition to these bars, I would have a couple other bars. This guy hits hard. I've got the mana. Good Lord, this guy hits like a truck. So, hunger, sleep, thirst. I don't know what else. I don't want to go full. I don't know necessarily about sleep, but there's lots of opportunities for gameplay. Third beer here. So, imagine if every NPC in this town had a couple of bars. Food, water, sleep, possibly. Work, potential work. Entertainment, etc. So you go around the village and you go to the merchant, and he's all full. He doesn't need any help. You buy a bunch of food. Some sort of exotic food, maybe salt. I don't know. And you go out into the woods and you meet a hunter. And this hunter, again, I don't know why a hunter would be low on food, but it's just go with me here. The hunter is low on food, but he's really high. He has a large, full bar of skins. He's been out there a long time. Got all the skins he wants. He's going to sell you the skins for cheap because he has tons of them. He has a high supply. He's going to buy the food for expensive because he has none. He wants more. So this was done in the early X games. I loved the system. I love the way it works. It's very interesting. It basically gives you a quest without any kind of quest. Like the early EQ quests, you had to know that you had to find them and then do them. In this one, you've got to find this. If you head all the way out there with a big load of food and he didn't want any food, you failed, right? So the bars would be pretty fun. I intend to incorporate that, another little mini game just like the fireplace, the campfire. I don't think it's riveting to collect food from the ground and eat it, right? It's not awesome, but it's a nice little background mechanic that you've got to keep going. Thirst as well. What else? Gosh, I didn't expect to cover everything. All right, sounds good.